The employment interview was Chapter 8, Interviewing Practices and Principles, the 13th edition, and I will be talking about the process of the interview questions and answers that should be asked and not asked in a situation when you're being employed for a job. Asking questions, the bad questions. Avoid me questions. You were there to talk about yourself? Yes. You were also there to sell yourself to the company, of course. But you should also avoid the me questions, which seems to dote on yourself more than you really should. And it's a question that's how will I get, what will I get, and how much will you get. Just to avoid those. They're just not good. They turn people off because you look like you're not there because you're interested in the job. You look like you're there because you're wanting to be able to make more money or not exactly do what they want you to do. And it's not all about you, which goes back to that me questions. It's not all about you. It's also about the company and about the team that you're going to be working with and the productivity that you're going to be providing for this company. Never ask about a salary. Never ever ask about the salary. They will usually discuss this with you once they decide they want to offer you the job. So never ask about it. It's a really bad turnoff for an employer to have one of the first questions you asked about the salary. The same goes with vacation and benefits. Don't ever ask about those in an interview. It's just not the right time or the place to be asking about that. That, again, will be also explained to you if you are offered the position. Make sure you do your research beforehand. You want to research the company. You want to know what they do, what all products they handle, what services they provide, and just everything the company has done, how many hands it's switched over time, about their history and their mission statement. Most companies are out there on the web, and they have their mission statement, and they also have their history and how they became what they are and their products and what their company, sells or what their company strives to be and do. So make sure you do your research beforehand. It will benefit you in the interview. The good questions to ask is to ask about what they expect out of their ideal employee, the culture of their organization. You want to be sold on this company just as much as you want to sell yourself to the company. So you're going to want them to sell you on the culture of their organization. Because if you go through this interview and you don't know anything about the culture of the organization, and then you accept a job and you get into it and it's just not what you wanted, you don't believe in that, it's not something that you want to be a part of, you need to ask that beforehand and find out what their mission is. Of course, that could be on their website, but you can get a breakdown and a more detailed information from the person you're talking to about the culture of the organization. You might also want to ask about a typical workday for the position. If you are a person that likes to be up and around, making your way through the building, running errands, doing this, doing that, and this is a sitting position, that may not be for you. And that's a good question to ask so you know what a typical day is for that position. Also, you might want to ask about the characteristics of candidates, characteristics that they're looking for, what they really think would fit best into their organization, what they want out of their candidates once they decide on who they want to hire. Because that's a big factor in whether you're qualified enough for that job or not. They may have qualifications that weren't listed in the description that you originally read that they are looking for in a candidate. So that's a good question to ask. Training programs, it's a very good thing to ask about the training programs a company has, because many companies do have training programs available, and most companies like to send you to training programs and love it whenever people are willing to learn. If you're not willing to learn their programs or other programs or go to training, that kind of looks like you're wanting to be stagnant. You're wanting to do the same thing every day in and day out, and not give something new a try or advance with technology as that advances in that career. The closing is brief. Do not try to sell yourself in this stage of the interview. You're just going to turn the recruiter off because you're supposed to be selling yourself during the questions and answer part of the interview. That's when you sell yourself. So don't try to sell yourself in this stage. It's too late. They're either going to be sold or they're not going to be interested, or they may be in the middle with it, but don't try it at this stage. Make sure you do express your interest in the position. Even if you're not interested in the position, don't say that you're not interested. Just express, what you like about the company and what goals and everything that the company is looking for that you think are good for their company. So express the interest in the position, express interest in the organization, talk highly of the position and the organization. You don't want to say bad things, and you don't want to overdo it either. Again, that goes back to don't sell yourself. You'll also ask what will happen next, how the process goes of hiring, how the process goes throughout them deciding what candidate they're going to choose and what the process is. Be a professional until you were in your car on the way home. I know that's going a little far, but some companies, they will walk you to the door. The interview is not over. I've also been at places where they have themselves walked out into the parking lot as you're walking out into the parking lot. They will watch you. They will watch you get into your car, and they will watch you drive away. And if you get into your car and you speed away like some crazy person, they're going to mentally note that and think that you're a careless person because you're carelessly driving through their parking lot in their area of business. So be professional until you are on your way home, completely out of sight. And that doesn't give you permission to act silly or drive erratic at all. That does not. But make sure you be professional until it's completely over. In the book on page 252 to 254 of the 13th edition, it talks about working in teams, and talks about the employment interview for review and analysis, the good questions. I found in here, there's not that many. I didn't find that many good questions that were. There was good questions asked. There just wasn't that many good answers to what the recruiter was asking the person, and it just gives you a synopsis of an interview that took place. One of the question and answer that I thought was pretty good was talking about working in teams. It's number 31. The recruiter says, "Tell me about some of these experiences," which is talking about the teams again. The applicant says, "I was involved in teams and group work in most of my CT classes, and I worked with teams quite often during my internship." This is a really good one because it does answer the question. It doesn't elaborate too much, but it lets the person know that they did work in teams and they did it quite often, especially in their internship, which is in a working environment. So that's good. The next question was talking about the company. I saw it's number 41. The recruiter says, "Why would you like to work for SS?" And the applicant says, "Well," and I would avoid using "well." I would just cut that out. I would have just said, "Everything I have read indicates you are one of the fastest growing computer software companies, and I'm really interested in developing software for aircraft and national security." This is really good because it shows that this person is interested in that company because of what they do. They are a computer person. It says they have done an internship for Microsoft. They've got a degree from an established university in this field, and they are really interested in developing software for the aircraft and national security, which is what this company does. So that's really good. That's a really good answer for that question. Some of the bad questions that were asked during the employment interview for review and analysis, the questions weren't bad, but the answers were. There was a question that was asked and the applicant used stuff like that. Stuff like that's really bad. How it starts is on number 11. The recruiter says, describe what you would consider to be an ideal position for you. And the applicant says, I guess it would be like my internship with Microsoft. It would give me an opportunity to work on interesting projects and do some troubleshooting and stuff like that. And the recruiter goes on to say, what do you mean? What do you include in stuff like that? So it's very broad. They don't get what you're talking about. They want specifics. They want to know exactly what you worked on, what you did, and how you troubleshot and did all of the work that you did in those situations. They don't want stuff like that. They want specific things. Avoid your personal life unless specifically asked about it, because they don't want to hear about your personal life unless they ask about it. Whenever they tell you to tell them a little bit about yourself, they want to know your educational background. They want to know your employment background and some of the things that you know how to do that will benefit them as a company. Research the company beforehand. That way you don't get in there and you ask really bad questions about the company that are out there on their website, or in a lot of companies in their HR department. Whenever you first walk in and you sit down in that office, they have little pamphlets about their company, or they have posters up on the wall about their company. That stuff's plastered everywhere. And if you go in there and ask a silly question that's plastered all over everything, or it's in the job description, it looks really bad on your part. So make sure you do research the company beforehand. Again, never ask about the salary and never ask about the benefits. These will be discussed if you are offered the position. So just don't ask. It's rude. They don't like it, and they consider it, unprofessional whenever you're in an interview and you ask about those things. A successful interview. This is kind of a summary of everything with a successful interview. Be professional from the time you get out of your car in the parking lot until you're completely gone. Be professional. You are there interviewing for a professional job. They do not want to hire somebody that's going to come haphazardly walking into their office, chewing bubblegum, not dressed appropriately, asking silly questions. Just be professional. Be on time. If you cannot be on time to an interview, more than likely you're not going to be on time to work, and they're not going to be interested. So make sure you are on time, if not a couple minutes early, typically like 5 minutes early or so. You don't want to be too early, but you don't want to be right there on the dot or after. You want to get there a little early. Make sure you answer the questions completely and thoroughly. They want specific information out of you. They don't want a broad answer like that stuff, like that question or answer. You need to give thorough answers. You also want to ask your own questions. So ask your questions, but be professional about it. Don't be rude about it. And ask professional questions. Don't be asking about salary again, benefits. Ask questions that are professional about the organization, about what they do, what they strive to do, what their goals are, and also be thankful for the opportunity. Even if you're not interested in the position, be thankful that they considered you as a candidate for the position, because I'm sure there are a lot of other people out there that are qualified and also being interviewed for the position. So just be thankful that they gave you an opportunity to sell yourself to them. And that is it for this slide. All of the information that I have provided is available in the book. So good luck.